Good evening, Basil. How's it going, man?
Very well. How are you, Alex?
I'm good. So this week we've got another good one, heavily awarded this year. It's called The Father. And we actually went to the cinema and watched this one.
We did.
Because
We
it's
did.
not available anywhere else, I'm afraid. But I
Yeah.
think it was a well worth visit to the cinema because it's the film that has awarded Anthony Hopkins, the main character, playing the main character, for Best Actor this year. And it all revolves around his character and mainly his daughter. And he's a gentleman in his 80s. He's widowed by the looks of it, and he's slowly falling mentally ill into dementia, I would say, because of what's happening around him. And the film is set in his apartment. We get to doubt that if it's his apartment or not. But the whole film is set in his apartment, and his main interaction is with his daughter Anne, played by Olivia Cook. And it basically puts you in the shoes of a slowly degenerating mind, because I can't find. I think that's what the film wants to show you the most. And obviously how that impacts the person that is suffering from dementia and also people around him. But what did you thought of it, sir?
Yeah, quite a whirlwind. I thought, first off, Anthony Hopkins, at the age he is, we both said it as we were leaving the cinema. He's playing himself. But no, it's like
called Anthony. Yeah,
he is. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah, but no, he's fantastic in it. It's absolutely brilliant. And it is a bit of a whirlwind of confusement. I think it's like a cross between dementia and Alzheimer's. I think we agreed on as we were discussing it when we watched it. It's like that's the two things going on, and you definitely put in his shoes because you as the audience don't really know what's going on with the plot as well. As you say, he kind of lives in what you assume is his apartment with his daughter, and you in the beginning of the film you're introduced to Anne, and it looks like she's moved in with him to look after him until she can find him a carer, and you just assume it's his apartment, and then not long after that you realise that it might not be his apartment because new characters are being introduced. Like this strange man walks into the house, and you don't know who it is, and Anthony goes, who the hell are you? And he goes, I'm Anne's husband. And up until that point, what you were led to believe is that Anne was widowed potentially, or divorced, and she wanted to move to France to start a new life, which just doesn't correlate with what's going on with reality. And the film does that about 3 or 4 times, with different characters coming in, and identities being mixed up, and it's a bit confusing. And then you kind of realise that why the director's doing it is because they're trying to put you into the mindset of what it must be like to have dementia. So he doesn't know what time it is half the time, and there's big reference on watches in the film, and he's always looking for his watch, and I think that's down to the play on time. He doesn't know what time it is, and he doesn't know who people are a lot of the time, and it's really good.
At many times I thought I'm watching a thriller because a psychological thriller, because the film, the director manages to surprise you in the same way that the character's mind surprises him, Anthony, because there are bits of information that are suddenly changed, and you only find out when the character finds out. There are, you find out that he has a daughter that is died, and then he thinks she's traveling the world and needs to visit. You find out all sorts of things that you're given as a piece of information to start with, and then all of a sudden it's like the rug is pulled out from under his feet all the time on a daily basis. Besides the fact that his life seems to be going in a loop. It's like they always have chicken for dinner, and Anne's husband always visits.
There's a lot of interchanging scenes. Yeah, it was almost like Memento. This film. So that film essentially plays out in a very strange way. You're seeing everything back to front, and it was a bit like with this one last night. It was like you don't know in what order things are happening. And because the scenes keep interchanging, so a scene will start and then a scene later, how that's ended is how the other one began, and you're like, well, in what order did that happen? And the point is, you're not really meant to know because he doesn't know, and that's why you're thrown into his shoes, and it is quite sad, and that's why it's frightening, and because he's such a strong character, and he's maybe a bit in denial of what's going on, and he's very. Charismatic. He's got wit and he's intelligent, really, and I think he's almost denying what's happening, and you can see in his eyes that when he realizes that I should know this person, so I'm going to pretend to know them. Like that happens twice because he mistakes Anne's husband. It's two different people in the film, and he pretends to just accept it as truth both times because he knows that he's losing his mind, and that's quite sad as well. It's
that's
like
obviously, I wouldn't think of anybody else playing this type of character besides Anthony Hopkins because he's so good at doing just that, what you said. As the film develops, he slowly realizes that he's losing his mind, basically, but he hides it so well and he plays it so well. That's what I like. Yeah. What did you thought? So let's talk about the acting because this is like the best of the year and probably best of Anthony Hopkins' performance. But he was against one of your favorites, Chadwick Boseman from
Well, you did mention that as the film was ending last night.
What's your impression now that you have seen? I think we have seen all the films that were nominated for Best Actor. Now we can make an honest impression and say, is it a worthy winner or was it a total?
I did enjoy like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as a film more than the father. This film last night, I have to say. That being said, I think acting-wise, Hopkins probably, I'd have to say, he killed it last night, man. It was absolutely fantastic. There's a
scene at the end that we're not going to spoil it, but there's a scene at the end, and even a bit earlier than the scene at the end that made me well up a little bit because of how how he literally a person that has a mental problem and as his mind degenerates is not something that you see outside, but Anthony Hopkins manages to show it to you just through the eyes into the facial expression.
It is almost like a disaster movie because rather than like the world ending, it's like his mind is ending and there's nothing he can do about it, and that's why it's so scary. It's like I imagine this must be a reality for quite a lot of people who maybe are looking after their elderly parents and this going through this. So it must be quite relatable for a lot of people. But yeah, it's like his mind is ending and there's nothing he can do about it, and that's what's really scary. And as you say, particularly in the ending. There's a very frontal close-up shot of just his face and the emotion from the scene, man. It's just heart-wrenching. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
That loop that he lives in, because that's what it feels like, a loop that it keeps repeating. That just gets shorter and shorter as he becomes more and more ill. And it feels towards the end that once he recognizes that he's got no control, is like that's when the heartbreaking moments is because you've been expecting it, and when it hits really hard.
The scene at the end, the questions he's asking is really scary. Like you know that it's a final point for him, and it's great, man.
When it comes to acting, is also the fact that the script helps him because it's based on a play, but it's like 90% of the film is him. So when you have that much screen time, you're obviously going to put your best and show as much as you can. But Olivia is in it also. Olivia Williams is in it in the film also, which are fantastic as actors.
It's funny you mentioned about the play. Because I would like to see how that plays out on stage. Actually, with trying to get the same experience that you do when you're watching a film. I wonder if when you're watching it as a play, you'd be able to. They'd be able to work it so that it's like you're in his shoes and you don't know what's going on,
For sure. That's a discussion for another clip, but I would say I think the play would be more impactful to the audience than the film because you get no editing in a play. So that character will have to stick to that character non-stop. So you're watching this person non-stop without any editing, any cutting, but it'll be interesting to see it. Hopefully with Anthony Hopkins too, maybe we'll catch a theatre.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows?
But anyway, it's called The Father, is in cinemas, or if anybody finds it online, that'll be even better. Brilliant film, well worth it.
Absolutely fantastic.
We'll talk to you next week, sir.
Yeah, take care, Alex.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.